Hi. These days, the financial markets are a fascinating game of thrones, complete with dragons, but only two of them. The two dragons pretend to be nice to each other, but under the table they are kicking and scratching and spitting, fighting each other mercilessly. Only one dragon can win, but more likely, both will lose, eventually. Who are these dragons, and why does it matter to you? Because these are financial dragons in charge of the US dollar and the US market. The first dragon is Secretary of the Treasury Janet Yellen. The second is Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman. And what are they fighting over? What else? The market. Each wants the opposite of what the other does, which is? Let's clarify first what each wants. And for this, we have to understand what each of them really is. Janet Yellen is a political operative masquerading as a civil servant, while Jerome Powell is a Boy Scout masquerading as a banker. Because Janet Yellen is a politician, her ultimate desire and aim is to see her party, the Democrats, remain in power. This is critical because many of her buddies have done things for which they need forgiveness. And this they can only get if their friends in Washington remain in power and can turn a blind eye to their misdeeds. That's why what Janet's power fear most is that both Congress and the Senate would flip Republican. And then the Republicans would do to them what they are now trying to do to Republicans. Small wonder that they are scared. So what does Janet want most of all? To keep the stock market up any way she can. Because if the market stays uppish until the November midterms, there is a small chance, not much, but there is a small chance that the Senate may be locked 50-50 or may even go 51-49 Democrats. Only then would some of Janet's friends go scot-free, even after Congress flipped, which today is nearly a certainty. They would go Republican. So how does Janet try to boost the market? By jacking the US dollar up by force. Last few months, she has gone to Europe to convince sovereign wealth funds and other big money pools to buy the US market and so prop it up. She did this by telling them frankly she is about to push the US dollar higher, so they better get in on the ground floor. And so many did, because large funds are evaluated on a quarter-by-quarter basis, some even month by month. So if they miss the market rise, they can lose their job. So the market did go up from June upwards, breaking some bears' teeth. But that was good, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. It was a bad thing because emerging countries, emerging economies, smaller countries have lots of US dollar denominated debt. So when the US dollar went up a lot, they had to ship out more of the money and merchandise to pay the interest on their debt. And rates went up in the meantime also. So some went bankrupt, like Sri Lanka, and others just went hungry because for them, higher dollar meant higher inflation and higher cost of food. Now, Janet may say she's really being a Girl Scout, doing a good thing, because with a high US dollar, US inflation will be more moderate, as import cost Americans a bit less. But it's really a minor effect. The main effect is exporting misery to the rest of the world while drawing more US investors into a US overvalued stock market, knowing they'd be hurt once the US dollar falls back down to earth, as it must. And all this just so that Janet's friends can remain in power by jacking the market up temporarily. Now, what about Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman? He, as I said, is a real Boy Scout. While Janet Yellen tries to drive the market up, he and his buddies are trying to drive it down. Because with the market down, many lose money, so this forces corporations to cut prices because otherwise nobody would buy. Also, higher rates tank the economy and many lose their jobs, even as losers in the market need to go back to work, although at lower wages, because they are desperate. So this helps produce more stuff and cheaper stuff, which helps inflation on the other side, more supply. Or that at least is the theory. But meantime, Short term, Jerome Powell is willing to bring more misery to Main Street so that housewives and house husbands could afford food and clothing for the kids tomorrow, even at the risk of flipping the Senate Republicans. As I said, two dragons fighting, and Jerome is not a politician, he's a true Boy Scout. So they are the two dragons battling each other in the market Game of Thrones. Janet wants the market to go up, Jerome Powell wants it to go down. Unless you understand an internecine battle, you can't understand what goes on in today's market. So who's winning? Who's losing? Short term, probably Jerome Powell wins, with the market down a little bit, and Janet loses. However, scuttlebutt in Washington, from friends of mine, is that Janet Yellen is probably on the way out. For a while, it was rumored that Larry Summers, the former Harvard president who was fired because he didn't hire enough women, the rumor was he would be the next Treasury Secretary. The new rumors are that it was somebody else. At any rate, not Janet. She's down her bit for her buddies and her party and can go. As for Jerome Powell, he is still a Boy Scout, but a naive and foolish one, now committing a huge error. Why? Because he's a lawyer, not a market animal. So maybe he just can't see the effect of raising rates has a long time lag, though a strong one. So the economy is already cracking, only he can't see it yet in the numbers. And this will likely get worse until he finally cracks too, as he must, and has to slow down the rate hikes, maybe even pause them. And why is that? Because when the economic numbers start coming in, they will be atrocious. Indeed, winter is coming, and Europe is about to go into depression with rivers drying up, Russian gas drying up, the EU driving farmers out of business because of the World Economic Forum diktats, and the EU taking charge of agriculture, making a mess of it just as they did to energy. At the same time, China too is seeing rivers drying up, people refusing to pay mortgages because the builders left their condos unfinished and bust. And all the while, Xi Jinping has his own conservative liberal fight in the Politburo, most of which we don't even see here. In other words, sooner or later, probably sooner, Jerome and his crew at the Fed will have to stop hiking, and then the market may zoom in one last hurrah with lowering rates because big money funds have to chase quarterly results, just as they have been chasing Janet's dollar. But after that, with both dragons likely gone, the North American economy would likely tank too, but only next year. But meantime, it's a Game of Thrones, as both dragons, Janet and Jerome, are battling it. And when both are taken out, the market can breathe easily for a while. We have seen extreme panic 2 months ago in June, which was the market bottom. Since then, the panic has subsided, but there's no euphoria yet. I want to see euphoria. I haven't seen it. Will it come? My guess, nothing more than that. My guess, we'll see it before year end. At any rate, before the US midterms, once political paybacks will start. Once they come, this would likely be the time to stand the sights on the market, but probably not yet. I am saying probably. But whatever you choose to do, in the meantime, it's fun to watch the market Game of Thrones. Better than TV, in my opinion. Before I log off, here's a word from the real world. My next book, The Advanced Sleuth Investor, is finished, and in a few weeks will go to the editor. Hopefully, it will come out before year end. I'll tell you when it's available. And when it is, buy one and tell all your friends about it. Meantime, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Stay safe and cheers.